Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. INEC issues certificate of return to Uche Oga as duly elected governor of Abia State, as ordered by the Federal High Court in Abuja. More drama as another court, this time in Abia, stops the state's chief judge from swearing in Uche Oga as Governor Okeze Ikpeazu insists he is still in the saddle. The Attorney General of the Federation shunned Senate's invitation to explain claims of forgery instituted against its leadership. And Brexit leaders divided over Prime Minister contest. Just a reminder here that all our top stories can be found on our website, channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. But do visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones from their respective stores. Go a step further now and interact with the Channels Eyewitness feature in the Channels TV app. If you have pictures or videos you'd like to share with us, tap the application on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu, and follow the instructions. The Attorney General of the Federation today failed to appear before the Senate Committee on Judiciary and Human Rights on issues relating to allegations of forgery against his leadership. At the venue of the meeting, the committee excused the official who represented the Attorney General, saying it will make its report to the upper legislative chamber. Our correspondent, Lanre Lasisi, has more.
Journalists waiting for the arrival of the Attorney General of the Federation and members of the Senate Committee on Judiciary and Human Rights. 45 minutes after the appointed time, the chairman and some members of the committee arrived. Opening the session, the chairman explains the focus of the meeting.
Based on the Senate resolution on what was tagged imminent threat to our democracy. I would like to know if the Honorable Attorney General is here.
He was not present. Standing in for him is the Special Assistant to the President on Prosecution. The lawmakers say they had invited the Attorney General of the Federation and not the President.
Our invitation was to the Honorable Attorney General. And I'm sure you are not Honorable Attorney General, just like you have indicated. So we cannot hear you. I'm sorry.
With that, the representative walks out. Outside, he had this to say.
This matter is now before a court of law. There is separation of powers in Nigeria. It is not the position of the Senate to constitute themselves into a court of law.
Back inside, the chairman of the committee explains that the Attorney General had earlier asked for time to prepare his position.
So the best we will do at this point in time is to report back to plenary, and then the Senate in plenary will take a decision on our next line of action.
Now, this development adds another chapter to the ongoing disagreements between the executive and the legislature, with no hope of any resolution in sight. From the National Assembly, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has held a closed-door meeting with the nation's security chiefs. Our State House correspondent gathered that some of the issues discussed at the meeting, which also had the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, in attendance, include the militancy in the Niger Delta region and the war against terror in Nigeria's northeast. Also present at the meeting were the Chief of Defense Staff, Gabriel Olonishakin, Chief of Army Staff, Tukuru Buratai, Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, Chief of Naval Staff, Ibok Ete Ibas, as well as heads of other security agencies. Others were the Minister of Defense, National Security Advisor, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, and the Chief of Staff to the President. They, however, did not speak with journalists at the end of the meeting that lasted over 3 hours. Let's go now to Abuja, where Gloria is standing by to give us more on the news at 10. Hi, Gloria. Great to see you.
Hello, Amarachi. Good to see you, and welcome to Abuja, the nation's capital. The House of Representatives Special Ad Hoc Committee on the Review of the 1999 Constitution has adopted the report of the National Conference 2014 as part of its working documents. The report was adopted during a working retreat of the committee which held in Abuja, and the meeting was presided over by the chairman of the committee, who is also the Deputy Speaker of the House, Honorable Lasun Yusuf. Some of the salient proposals in the report would be turned into draft bills and presented to the House for adoption and passage. It was a hot debate today at the Plateau State House of Assembly as lawmakers argued their points on the floor over a possible extension of tenure for local government management committees set up by the governor, Mr. Simon Lalong. The governor had earlier requested for the extension of local government management committee members for 2 months. In the latest request, Governor Lalong is seeking the legislators' approval for the extension of the 17 local government management committees chairman for another 6 months. Explaining the contents of the governor's letter to the members, the speaker emphasized the issue of election as the basis to consider in granting the request. Though the request was eventually granted by the House, members of the People's Democratic Party walked out of the session in protest of the decision perceived to be against the earlier resolution for the extension of only 2 months. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission is proposing July the 23rd and 30th to conduct the rerun elections into the National Assembly for Kano, Kogi, Imo and Rivers states. The chairman of the commission made the proposal in Abuja at a meeting with security officers, INEC commissioners and representatives of political parties from the affected states. According to Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, the elections in those affected constituencies were declared inconclusive owing to violence.
We are bringing forward to this particular meeting 2 dates for your consideration. Number 1, Saturday, 23rd July 2016 for the Imo and Kogi elections. Number 2, Saturday, 30th July 2016 for the Kano and Rivers elections. These dates are simply proposals to this meeting.
Before making the proposal, the INEC chairman reminded the gathering about the reasons for the elections being declared inconclusive.
Elections were inconclusive where there was violence, and elections were never inconclusive where there was no violence.
He appealed to politicians and the electorate in the affected states to cooperate with INEC for the conduct of the elections. Meanwhile, the representative of the Acting Inspector General of Police gives assurance that the polls will be peaceful.
We are not going to allow criminals and hoodlums to create a situation where election will never take place.
However, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters expresses concern over the vacuum the inconclusive polls are having on the National Assembly 1 year on.
Today in the Senate, we have 6 seats that are empty. And it pains me that after 1 year, there are still 6 seats.
Although INEC has proposed the new date for the rerun of the elections, the Commission says the success will depend mainly on the security situations in the affected states.
One of the ways the anti-corruption campaign will work is for Nigerians to provide useful information to the anti-graft agencies about suspected corrupt activities in their respective domains. This was one of the suggestions from participants at a town hall meeting organized by Clean Foundation in Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria. The meeting was called to evaluate ongoing efforts to end cases of corruption and the need to establish a special anti-graft court.
It's a small gathering of selected groups comprising the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, NACIP, ICPC and the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA. The essence of this meeting is to rub minds and identify the roles of citizens in the war against corruption in Nigeria. But speakers appear to be of the opinion that the current anti-corruption efforts of President Muhammadu Buhari will achieve very little unless Nigerians begin to exercise their role by holding leaders accountable at all times.
Corruption in Nigeria pervades most sectors of the public life. It has also been observed by a section of Nigeria that the current corruption effort of President Muhammadu Buhari will achieve very little unless it becomes a paramount agenda that can be pursued at the state and local government levels.
Nigeria must start and emulate other countries if we want to succeed in this fight against corruption. We should not allow ourselves to be drawn into political issues that will truncate this fight by the present administration.
For the representatives of the NDLEA, drug trafficking and consumption are part of corruption, as such illegal activities often rob the nation billions of naira.
The consequences of drug abuse and its linkage with other social vices such as armed robbery, prostitution, assassination, terrorism, militancy, and even miscreants on the street and other health-related problems, including HIV/AIDS, is a source of big concern.
Nigerians are not actually committed to the fight against corruption. Nigerians only report cases of corruption when they are affected or when they feel that they've been cheated.
The workshop is done and the outcome is expected to generate the needed sensitization towards the fight against corruption.
When the news at 10 returns, local firms to embark on massive capital raising in Nigeria's oil industry. But that's in business news. Let's join us again.